The Police has written a grand opera. He's the first popular musical artist to do so since Gershwin wrote Porgy and Bess. I had the opportunity to talk with him about his new musical venture. Stewart Copeland is best known as the percussionist for the group The Police, which sold over 40 million records worldwide. Besides writing popular music, Stewart has written scores for television's The Equalizer and films like Oliver Stone's Wall Street. Coming from this diverse background is what Stewart believes gives him the edge over other composers in writing a grand opera.
Well, there's two edges that I have over the other composers. The other composers are brought up in the music schools, and they're steeped in the traditions. So that either they recreate the traditions in which it's just like rehashed Mozart, or they're so inhibited by trying to get away from those that they write this squiggly modern music that just doesn't add up. All the good melodies have been written, so they write bad ones. And so they're kind of, it's a straitjacket, all that training. Second of all, the advantage I have is that for me, music is a popular thing. You have to turn people on with it, or it isn't the real thing. Mm-hmm. It's, you know, musicians who come out of the conservatories and read about the history of Mozart or the history of Berlioz or something, and they think, well, it's okay if nobody likes my music, I'll be appreciated after I'm dead. Which, I'm sorry, I don't buy it. For me, music, I want this audience tonight to run screaming from the theater, you know, or whatever. Yeah. And so I suppose my pop sensibilities are an advantage. They keep me to the straight and narrow. I think the most important thing is to turn on this audience.
You've worked on a lot of things, starting with punk rock music, leading into soundtracks for not only television but movies. How does this opera compare to that?
Opera is much more closely related to film scoring than it is to playing in a rock band. In fact, playing in a rock band is pretty much irrelevant to film scoring and opera composition. It's a whole different thing. It's a physical exercise. It's a power rush. You know, playing with a hot band with a hot drum set is all about physical energy. I think it's connected to, you know, it's a power rush. It's physical though. You know, physically it's like a good stiff game of tennis. Emotionally, it's like a boxing match or something. You know, it's pugilistic. Opera is more closely related to film scoring. In fact, an opera has to be the ultimate film score because it's wall-to-wall music. Working with films, I've gotten very clever at putting music to drama. And in fact, I find that having drama going on in front of me really brings out the musical ideas. I really enjoy film scoring for that reason. With a scene up there, just the scene brings out music. Looking out my window at activity or any kind of activity, the score starts to well up out of me. Yeah. And opera, I suppose, is the ultimate version of all of that.
Holy Blood and Crescent Moon is a swashbuckling tale of adventure and danger, religion and romance set in the Holy Lands of the Crusades. It will be performed on spectacular stage settings, employing hundreds of artists, including 13 soloists, dancers, and a 52-piece orchestra. It is the first time the Cleveland Opera has been involved in the creation of a major new work.
There are certain advantages of operating in Cleveland. For instance, I wrote a ballet for one of the premier ballet companies of the nation. In fact, it's the oldest ballet company here, the San Francisco Ballet, and they take themselves very seriously. And they are taken by the rest of the nation, the rest of the world very seriously. And I showed up there and they were doing me a big favor. In fact, the man who'd commissioned my work was fired the day I arrived there for bringing this popular pop music into their sacrosanct thing.
Really?
And it was a problem. And I would probably have the same problem if I went to the Met or the Lincoln Center in D.C. or something like that. Cleveland, because of its inferiority complex, that makes this a happening town. This opera company is fighting harder than anyone to show those guys. There's a buzz, there's an energy level that's much higher here than there would be in New York, for instance.
I'm told you have a role in the opera. What kind of part is it?
Oh yes, I do have a part. I wrote myself in a part. They refused to allow me to sing.
Now why is that?
Or so I wrote myself in a shouting part because I'm not an opera singer. And so I wrote myself in a shouting role. I get to lead the Muslims over the wall.
And how long are you on for?
Not very long. I get to thrash around. The important thing is that I get a big entrance either with a trampoline or on a horse or a camel or swan or something. And I charge around, and I told the guy I want the biggest sword and the highest helmet and the neatest looking shield, and I get to kill the king.
Started out with like punk rock type stuff.
I love the statement. I was a punk rocker, but now I'm an opera composer.
Seems like a big jump. But you went out to movies, scoring as well in television, and now it's opera. Where can we see you next year?
I think, for the moment, that opera is about the highest musical challenge. I've been trying to think of my next flippant remark. I mean, there's the oft told and retold story about this opera, is that it all came about at that ballet. After the ballet, someone said, you know, you're going to write another ballet, and my flippant remark was, sure, when I finish my opera. And here we are with my opera. Now someone's going to say, well, you're going to write another opera, and I've got to, you know, I've been trying to think, well, what's my flippant remark going to be, you know, when I become king of Russia, you know? There isn't anything, artistically, there isn't anything beyond writing an opera. That's it. That's the maximum. That's why I said it then, you know. And so I guess no more flippant remarks. But I will continue with writing opera because it's the ultimate musical challenge.
Well, that's it for tonight's Cleveland Rock Beat. I want to thank all our guests, Stewart Copeland, Chester Thompson, and of course the great Les Paul.